the truth.
And what?
And shame the
All right,
devil.
come on in.
I
Love
love
being
being
black.
black.
All right, then. Appreciate everybody. We got. I want to read. Make sure I get everybody's names correct. First and foremost, we have the honorable IRS. I'll pronounce it right. Martinez, the clerk. I like to call you Madam Clerk.
Well, I appreciate it.
Madam
Thank
Clerk
you so much.
of the Cook County, of Circuit Court of Cook County. All right, respect to you. Also, to my left, probably to you guys' right, we have also Robin Page, Chief Deputy Clerk.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. And the Domestic Violence Department and her assistant, Deputy Theodora. Welcome, welcome. Teamwork Englewood. We welcome you. Also, I have my partner right here, Vera Giles Norris.
So listen at this, you know what? We got a great topic today because we're talking about domestic violence.
Mhm.
And that's something that's really kind of near and dear to our hearts. And we've done a lot of work on the battlefield. So we want to give it back up to Teamwork Englewood for allowing us to be here today, to have this conversation, right? So Clerk Martinez, we understand that under your administration, you recently opened the Domestic Violence Survivor Center. Can you tell us how important that is for you?
Well, as you know, I've never lied about everything in my life. As a victim myself of domestic violence many years ago, it was very personal to me. Wherever I went, even when I was a state senator for 20 years, I worked on many bills that had to deal with the protection, the identity, and so many of our domestic violence victims. So to me, it was very important that coming into this office, and when I went walking around to different courthouses, you go to Markham and where the applications for domestic violence, for orders of protection and everything, it's all in the open, and when you have a situation where you have, your victims, sitting out in the open, they might have been, brutally beaten, black and blue marks. The children are right there with them. To me, I had to look to see if there was a safe space where they can actually fill out these applications or fill out, whatever they needed in the comfort of a safe room, a safe area because what we saw is perpetrators are walking around almost to intimidating many of our victims from going out and getting orders of protection or seeking any kind of domestic violence resources. So again, that was very important. And, going to the Markham, which in the Southland, it was such a need. And knowing that, the advocates and so many had talked about this, I found a space in the lower level, which was all full of, equipment and files. Again, an unused space that now today serves as a domestic violence center. We were able to, rehab the place, put in all the factors that, our advocates, our victims, and our children needed within that space. And create a safe space that people have to be bussed in. They have to be, we have to make sure that we have the sheriff's office nearby just in case. Just again, giving the comfort that a domestic violence victim needs to feel, especially when she's trying to be proactive and doing something about it. And nothing better than having a safe place for them people to do it without intimidation and any kind of people watching them.
I need to say something real quick. I need you to get in. We don't have you on the camera. That's sorry about that, people. Come on down. Come on down. Come on. Right. A little bit more. Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. Right there. Right. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Also, I probably need you. Good. You come over a little bit more. Yes. Right. All right. And that's it. I think I got everybody. That's perfect. I see everybody's face. Okay.
And then we're right here too.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So you know what, and I know how it is, and I don't want you to necessarily repeat what you just said, but now that we do have you in the camera, and for those that are looking, can you just kind of sum up what you just said again? They may have heard you, but now I want them to see you.
Well, it was important for me to make sure that women or victims that need services, in our courthouses feel safe, and we wanted to create an environment for our victims to feel safe in a room where our children are attended, to make sure that they're taken care of, during the time that the parents are filling out this application, this order of protection, and that they have the opportunity to, we have food for them there, we have books, we have little resources necessary for the kids to keep them active. But it was very important for me to have a place in a courthouse like Markham, where we need a domestic violence, survival center, which did not exist in the Southland area. And it was important that identify a space, and now today we have a beautiful space that our victims can actually, call home and feel comfortable taking, getting their services.
Getting their service. I'm gonna come over here.
I want one question real quick.
Go ahead.
Do you have any men that get beat up too?
Yeah, that's why I said I changed it from victim to victims. We are seeing
Okay.
men and women. So
Okay.
again, it's a safe place.
Okay.
Again, it's for any victim, anyone that felt victimized. They have a place, regardless if it's a male, female, transgender, whoever is out there that needs our services. That's the space that they can feel safe in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I'm gonna go over here to Robin and Theodora. Can you describe the role of your office in addressing domestic violence cases?
Sure. So, as you know, we have 6 courthouses throughout Cook County, and the clerk of the circuit court has an office in each of those courthouses. So we are the keepers of the records. So we ensure we try to keep an accurate court record, and we provide litigants, survivors of domestic violence with forms to file their petitions for orders of protections, and we do case initiation for criminal cases. And we also provide assistance as far as giving resources for advocate agencies as far as to ensure safety planning and childcare, those types of resources.
Yeah, and not only, petitions for the order of protections, we have motions, we have appearances,
Absolutely.
anyone who needs these documents to file into their case, we have. And if we don't have them on hand, we can print them out for them for free, so.
Absolutely.
Wow, I love that. And what are the most common challenges victims face when reporting domestic violence, and how does your office oversee these challenges? And I know we maybe kind of went over some things, but if we repeat, that's okay. Go ahead.
I believe it's more so misinformation. People think that they could just go, if they're a survivor of domestic violence or they experience an incident of domestic violence, they can just go file an order of protection and they're granted one right away. They don't realize that they have to file for a petition for order of protection. It's like a wish list, for the judge. This is for you to tell the judge what you want. And you have a court hearing, and the judge, here's the case. And then the judge will have to decide if they will grant the order or not. I just believe that they're given a lot of misinformation on navigating the judicial system.
That's why partners are so important. We have advocate partners that are very important, that really advocate for domestic violence, and they're really very important to us because they're the ones that really guide some of these victims, as to what they need to do. They don't always know and think that everything can be very quick. To me, right now, what I see is there's a gap when you file the order of protection and when it's actually delivered to that individual. We've seen gaps, and because of those gaps, the law enforcement might go out one time and not go out again. That victim, we've already seen cases where the victims have been murdered because of the fact that there was not enough pressure on law enforcement to go and serve that order of protection. And if there is a gun involved, as far as somebody might have a FOID card with a gun, again, that's another factor that we have to deal with, that we don't seem to get. I don't think there's a disconnect. There is a disconnect, and we gotta close that gap. We gotta close it.
So you know what? And let's slow walk this. What are the steps that? Well, let me rephrase this. How does the process of reporting domestic violence work, and what are the steps a victim should take to ensure their safety?
So our first concern is that the survivor is safe. So whether you go to the police station, you go to a hospital, a neighbor's house, a friend's house, you need to get out of that volatile situation. So after you get out of that situation, after, emotions have calmed down, you can go to the police station, you can file a police report. If you'd like to file a criminal case against that person, you most likely will need a police report. So, get that out of the way. You can see a warrant officer. After you have your police report, you can see our assistant state's attorneys at any courthouse, and they'll assist you in creating a criminal case against that individual. If you don't want to go the criminal route, you can do a civil order protection. So we have different types of civil order protections, depending on the relationship with the other individual. So you can go that way as well.
And I might add, so the types of orders of protections that people can file are orders and protections under the Illinois Domestic Violence Act, stalking no contact orders, firearms restraining orders, workplace violence orders, and civil no contact orders. So there are a multitude of orders and protections that people can petition for. They just have to know the relationship and their situation, depending upon the forms that they file. We just try to assist them throughout the process when they come into our courthouse, into our office.
And we lean on our advocate,
Absolutely.
partners a lot.
Exactly, I was gonna say that we
Yeah.
have to lean on them because they're the ones that have the first contact with that individual.
I got a
And that first contact will set them, in the path that they need to get the correct order of protection, get the correct, filing for a criminal. It's about education. We try to make sure that, we have these on our website, we have it about how to do that process, how to go. Step one. But step one really has to be our victims have to take a stand and say, you know what, I don't want this anymore. And I'm gonna take the first step. There's gonna be a lot of resources to surround her or him with, but there has to be a first step that has to come. And we have to make sure that we continue to promote women that is not love. We have to get to understand that anytime there's a physical or even a verbal, kind of altercation of attack, there has to be, you have to take an action right then and there because it's only going to keep getting worse.
I have a real important question. Maybe you can address it, Deputy Chief. When a victim files for order of protection, now, what is the time frame that they have to know the other party knows? See, that's going to be a problem, a little touchy right there too as well.
So notice, so they can file ex parte,
Okay.
and that means that the other party is not there. It's an
Okay.
emergency status.
Okay.
So they can petition for an emergency order of protection. That's good for 14 to 21 days. They'll have the initial emergency court hearing by the judge, and then within 14 to 21 days, it'll be scheduled, if the judge grants it. It'll be 14 to 21 days after that, it'll be another court hearing.
So is it still valid even if the other party don't receive it? Okay,
Absolutely.
that's what I want to know.
Once the
that's-
Okay.
judge,
And that's what we're talking about, the fact that you can go ahead and file an order of protection. The gap, I feel, is where that order of protection is served,
Okay,
and how often is it served in trying to find
right,
the perpetrator?
right.
I mean, I think that's where a lot of our issues are around.
That's my concern too, yeah.
And that's been a concern,
Sure.
and we've seen it because we've seen, individuals have been murdered because of that.
Right.
Because there's not, the order of protection is in the system, but it's never been served because
Well-
they cannot find that person.
I have to say this too, because I know a personal friend of mine, his lady had an order of protection on, so she decided that she wanted to take matters on her, let him back into the house and all that. But she was using the order of protection as a pawn to make him, if you say something, she'd pick up the telephone, want to call. So that's dangerous. So what would you tell ladies, don't do that? What would be your advice?
well,
Debbie.
so as far as, don't play with the judicial system. It's a very serious matter, that a lot of people take this very seriously and a lot of resources go into assisting litigants of domestic violence and survivors of domestic violence. So you should not play with the judicial system in that manner. If you really are, experiencing domestic violence, then absolutely take those necessary steps to ensure your safety. But it shouldn't be taken lightly, not at all.
And they should, and one thing that also, because in the example that you laid, there are individuals that use that as a power tool.
Mhm.
And again, I think our judges see through that. I think, when they come back,
Yes.
and I would say that if any perpetrator feels, if they're not a perpetrator, but if he feels that he is being wrongfully, it's up to them to go in and fight it also. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's why there's a court hearing. You know what I mean? The judge wants to hear. So if that person was given a order of protection, and he feels that he really did not deserve that because for whatever reason it may be, again, that's why there's court hearings. That's why there's a court date. Go in there and figure out, because there are individuals that might use it as a power. Here I got this. And again, that is not. Let's be serious about this. This is a very dangerous situation that that the resources and everything is allocated to assure the safety. And if that person is playing games, then it really is a disservice to everyone else and the resources that were actually, taken to protect you and took it away from somebody else. And that's important.
And might I add, that's why service is so important. Because the respondent needs to know that they have an order of protection against them or a petition for an order of protection filed against them. And that's why there's a 14 to 21 day court date. So the respondent can come in to tell their side, because it may not be true, so they can exactly, specify what occurred, from their stance.
It's very important that people, that those kind of conversations, that's why, we try to always make sure that we educate, the process. We need to educate what the process is and how serious it is if you did something, because then you are going to become the perpetrator at that point. And again, that is something that we want to make sure that there's fairness to everyone involved, that there's time, those 21 days, that you have time to file an appeal if you feel that you've been unjust. Again, the system is there to work for you, but you've got to be able to trust the system, and that we're going to do whatever we can to ensure the safety, but also go after people that are using this tool as a game.
Yes, I've seen that, even with phone calls, not necessarily having the person just, you contacting the person that you have an order of protection against, and you shouldn't do that. Then you bait them in, and when they get over there, you call the police. It's
very emotional. It's a very emotional process, and you have to be ready for how people respond differently to emotions or act out on emotions. And we have to always be very conscientious of that.
Right.
And I know that you asked earlier about men, and I couldn't help but think of a conversation that I recently had with someone, a male, that's being abused by his mate. And the thing about it is that it's such an embarrassment for a man to come and say, listen, I could outpower her. I choose not to. How do you handle men when they come? And can we speak to some men that may actually be victims of domestic violence to ensure them that it's no discrimination? Or, again, let me just ask the question and you tell me, how do you handle men when they come? And what could you say to them to make them feel safe?
I think it's important for any individual coming in, but to know that it's a safe space. We have people in place to make sure that you're safe. So whether it's the sheriffs or advocates or any of us, we take it very seriously. You're heard, you're seen, your story. We believe you. So I think it can be difficult for maybe some men to come in because they might feel like they're not believed in their side of the story because,
And I think a lot has to do also with our advocates that are out there. They're the ones that have first contact, and we will never, ever discriminate on that, ever. And we want, especially male victims, to know that if they are being abused, if they are victims of domestic violence, they need to report it, because that's the only way we're going to be able to, to deal with the situation and actually then see. Sometimes, people don't realize that data is important. Collecting data and seeing these numbers, because we've seen more than ever since the COVID, a higher amount of domestic violence than we've ever seen in the past. And we're seeing it in males also.
Okay.
So again, I think that those couple of years or the year and a half that we were all stuck and at home.
I got some questions for you for yes. Oh, it was spiked then. This spiked, I remember.
Right. So at least it showed us that the females are not the only ones that are victims. That there are males, but males have to feel also that they will be protected. And again, it's up to our advocates to work with us in making sure that they are feeling comfortable and that we're educating the folks out there that the domestic violence does not have a male or female behind. It could be a child, it can be a LGBTQ individual, it could be anyone out there, and listen, it's not always women. And again, I want the male population to understand that we will never discriminate, that we will treat them, and for them not to be embarrassed, because guess what? It can save their lives too.
Yes.
Or doesn't it get so out of hand because of the fact that you've taken it for so long there should be no reason why anyone should sit at home
Mm-hmm.
and feel victimized
That's
and
right.
not realize that there are resources out there regardless of your gender. That's gonna be very.
I have another question for your assistant, Robin. Theodora, right? Okay, can you break down to the audience the types of domestic violence, and because some people, they think just literally putting your hand on somebody, maybe you can break.
It can be verbal abuse, it can be emotional abuse,
Hmm.
it can be withholding someone's children so that you see them, and, it can be any type of trauma that you cause to somebody
Mm.
is enough.
And also, you don't even have to know the person.
Mm.
It could be someone that is stalking you,
Mm.
even harassment through third parties, the internet, social media.
Wow.
You can, yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
See.
So it's a big one.
Wow.
So you can
See, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Through the
you
internet.
can file a petition for an order of protection, even if you're being harassed through social media.
I
Mm.
think more often than not, a lot of our petitioners are being harassed through electronic means. So, on social media, where someone's texting them or calling them, that's, I would say, our most common form.
And I want to slow down right here because this is really hit a tough spot. Because I had a young lady, again, that's away at college, and she's on her social media platform, she just celebrated her birthday. And every year for her birthday, young ladies that attacked her in high school, and she's in college now, these same individuals from her community, they come under her social media page and they say some of the craziest stuff to her. And it's literally, her birthday was just a couple of days ago. And she got a post under her social media account where the young lady came threatening her and saying stuff to her again. And she could file charges on this young lady because she's stalking her and saying, so what would she need? Like, do she need to have proof of the social media posts, screenshots, text messages, and different things like that?
Yes.
That's all part of the record. It's gonna be all part of the record. Exactly.
So any proof, yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you young people that's listening, because I know you all have a such thing about being scary. It's not being scary, it's being safe.
Absolutely.
Because when you have someone that's threatening you and harassing you, you don't know what type of hatred or envy that they may be carrying toward you. So it would be to your best advantage to take the screenshots, to report the issue so that you have the protection yourself.
Absolutely.
Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
You can build your case, by text messages that are out there, something in the internet. The only way, if you feel threatened, you should not go around life feeling threatened and feel that there's no resources for you. There are. You can just call the office, you can call and ask for information. I mean, again, I tell people, call our office. We can give you the advice. We can give you, even though we don't give legal advice, but we can talk to you about the process, how do you start the process? But I always say this, no one, not any young person who's being bullied, who's being, people being mean on the internet, through text message or whatever, if you feel threatened, report it, because what can happen is that you might, by scaring that other person, might stop it altogether. But as long as you keep being the victim, they're going to keep on doing it.
They're going to keep doing it.
Right, and you're going to continue to be stressed out. You're going to continue to be, psychologically in a very bad place. And you should not ever be in a bad place because you have not been able to get resources. That's what we're there for. That's why we have, it's important to people to call us and ask us what's available, what can I do? Because we're going to tell you the process. We're going to tell you. But I tell everyone, the listeners out there, no one should ever feel like a victim and or be treated like a victim out there because you're not doing anything to help yourself get the resources that you need. And don't be afraid because it's all confidential. You can call our office and we can give you the information to get you started. And one time you come to the office, we're going to guide you. We're going to be there making sure that that we get you everything you need.
Perfect.
With via the advocates or via the people at the office. Everyone there is equipped, is qualified to help you get you started, to make sure that you do not continue to feel like you're the victim without no hope or any, or any resources.
I have a question about the process too. So you just can't go and get a petition for order of protection. You have to make a police report, right?
Yeah, well,
That's
depending
first.
on what it is,
You don't
depending
have
what.
to.
You don't have to?
You don't
Okay.
have to.
I see,
You don't
see, I
have
didn't
to.
know that. So
Yeah,
I'm learning, see?
You don't have to.
Okay.
So, if you want to file a police report, you can use that to press criminal charges.
Okay.
And that you can get a criminal order of protection with the assistance from the Assistant State's Attorney's Office.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the State's Attorney's Office, and the Assistant State's Attorney will assist you with pressing those charges.
Okay.
But you can also petition for a civil order of protection. You just come in and you only need one. If it's a domestic violence incident that occurred, you know the person, you only need one incident. If you don't know the person and it's a stalking, you need 2 incidents of abuse. So a lot of people do not know that, but for a stalking no contact order, if you don't know the person and you're being harassed, you need 2 incidents of abuse.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you. And I'm gonna go, because I know we kind of going.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
What resources are available for victims of domestic violence beyond legal intervention?
So there is a domestic violence hotline. It's available 24/7 for any survivors that.
Can you give us that number too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 877-863-6338. So it's manned 24/7. If you feel that you need any assistance, you need someone to talk to, there are people in place that are there for you.
And they can connect you with resources for safety planning, childcare, shelter, if you need food, all different resources that you may need to assist you throughout the process. An advocate can do that.
Okay, I want to say one of them in the audience, in the messenger, he says, Ronnie Johnson said, they really don't have a safe space for men because employers are mostly women and they are biased toward men. But Madam Clerk, she affirmed to us that they do serve men and she want to be equal.
That's right.
So-
We have to be.
Right.
We have to be equal because we saw that uptick, and I think after the COVID,
yeah.
there was a lot. That's why data collection is so important for us, so we can actually help formulate the policies,
Right.
making sure that that everyone, not just women, everyone
Okay.
has a place that they can feel safe. Because we know now more than ever, based on on what we saw coming in, that there are a lot of males that are also victims of domestic violence, and we want to make sure that that we are there to serve everyone and anyone that walks through that door, regardless of who you are and what gender you are.
And
Perfect.
as well as social media has shown via Facebook Live or whatever, Instagram, whatever they're using, where we've seen men literally trying to run from their partner. And a lot of those men end up dead afterwards. We've seen where they've shot and killed them right there on the platform. And and I don't know how long this case happened, but it was a young man that was in his vehicle running away, and he was recording like, man, I'm trying to get away I'm scared for my life. Oh my God, I'm scared. And he was kind of laughing about it. But within 24 hours later, this man is deceased.
Wow.
Because she showed up and killed him. And so again, men, we know that in a lot of cases, you are the aggressor, and yes, you could put your hands on them, as we say, and you could win. But that's not what you want to do. You want to protect yourselves, and you have a disadvantage because it's like, you got this person constantly hitting and thinking that they can get away with doing it to you. You know what? Go down, get the order of protection, get the ball moving in your court so that if anything happens, at least you are protected because you're doing your best.
And I think it may take us a little further, because sometimes I feel that we all have to work together. We have to also educate our frontline people, like in the police department. That if a man walks in and says, I've been abused by my wife, that this doesn't become a joke. And I think because of the nature that it is a male walking into a police station, and maybe that's why you don't see too many of them coming in, because they're afraid of exactly that. And that's something that we have to educate those frontline workers anyone that is going to be at that front desk, let it be the police station, let it be wherever they're gonna be, they have to be very sensitive. And they have to understand that in today's world, there are male victims. There are male victims.
Thank you,
And
madam.
if they're walking in, treat them as you would treat a female or any individual walking in looking for assistance. Because I think, I remember when I took my daughter at the age of 16, I came home from Springfield, and she was locked away in her room, and she had abuses on her face. She had her boyfriend. So, when she comes out, and I said, what happened? She goes, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, no. We are going to the police station. And I think the first order of contact when I walked into the police station was that individual says, what did you do to him?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
That
Yeah.
set me off.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was a state senator at the time. It
It
set me
happens.
off,
That happens.
And again, this is where I say that we have to do a better job in making sure that we're educating our frontline workers, regardless of where they work at,
Mm-hmm.
that they're the first point of contact. And if a male walks in, first of all, it took a lot for the individual to even walk in, to make the decision to walk
Right.
in. We have to be open and ready to deal, to treat them with the same respect and dignity that we would treat a victim, if it's a female. And that's why I said we are advocates. We've got to do a better job of making sure that wherever people walk in looking for assistance, that they are aware that we do have male victims too.
How much time we got?
Perfect. We got about 15 minutes.
Okay, I got one question, then I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay.
What are the most important things a victim should do immediately after an incident of domestic violence? We may have went over it, but can you, in this last few moments, can you describe the steps to report domestic violence again?
So, you want to make sure that you're safe. So the number one thing is either contacting police or calling that domestic violence hotline
Hotline.
number to get resources.
877-863-6338.
Correct,
Okay.
yes. To ensure that they are safe, make sure that, they have a safety plan in place. And then they can talk with that domestic violence advocate, and then they can assist them if they want to pursue petitioning to file for an order of protection. They can assist them with that process. They can help them navigate that the judicial system in that process. So
Okay.
number one is making sure that they are safe.
Okay,
Okay.
There's gonna be resources there directing them what's the next step. I think that the very first step is identify exactly what just happened to you and go and make sure that you are taking care of it. If it's a domestic situation where we have physical, go to the police department right away. Or, get the police report. That will start the process, and you will have all the resources there to guide you through the process all the way until that order of protection is given to you. I mean, again, you just have to be able to say, I can't deal with this anymore, and I want to take action. We're there to provide you, with everything you need, but you gotta be able to say, no more, I'm done with this.
All right, that's it. All right, madam, I'm focusing on you now. All right.
All right. Now I'm on the hot seat.
Now, if you guys welcome to comment, but I'm gonna focus on Madam Clerk. All right, I got my questions here for you. Okay. It's okay. I'm not gonna put you on the hot seat. It's all right. Okay, Madam Clerk, you have been in office for almost 40 years. Congratulate you on that. 40 years. All right.
I still feel so young.
All right. Now, what you spoke about briefly a little bit, the start of your term as the clerk of, I'm stumbling over my words. You're making me nervous. The start of your term as the clerk of the court, you coincided with the beginning of COVID. Now, during the COVID pandemic, you were able to keep your office open. I want to tell us about it, and well protected. Tell us the challenge that you have faced in your role since then.
Well, when I took my oath, it was December 1st of 2020. So you
Okay.
can imagine, we were right in the heart of COVID.
COVID.
You walk into an office that basically a lot of the clerks were at home because there was not enough safeguards put in the workplace in order to keep them from this. This was very deadly. It was just all over the place, and we had a lot. We had already over 300 plus vacancies already in the system. Let alone that we had our crew, our clerks at home because of the fact we had to get in there, we had to start putting up plexiglass and making sure that the work environment was safe enough for them to come back, that we make sure that there was distance, that there was, and that we worked on schedule where we didn't have everybody in the office at the same time. A chief and assistant chief, we had them, working 1 week off, 1 week on, because we wanted to make sure that no one, because if they both went down, we were going to definitely have a problem. So there was a lot of things that we put in place, safeguards, health safeguards in place to make sure that people were comfortable coming back to work and not feeling that, that they were, and it was a very trying time in trying to get people back. I think it took me almost 2 years to finally get everybody back. It took time finding people and everything else because of the fact that there was just a lot of, not enough safeguards that they felt we had in place, and we did. And because of the work that we did, we won a national award for safeguarding our clerks in their environment.
I want to ask you another question too, as well. This not on my list, but during the pandemic, I'm the Crimechaser. That's what they call me. And so it was so much domestic violence going on because we was all locked in, and it was just it spiked. So I mean, I can imagine your office was overloaded.
Well, you know what? I think at the time we were so busy trying to get everybody back into place, and I think that's the sad thing. That was a time when we did not put enough, because we had to bring people back, and we had to staff the office. Even though the orders of protection were always something that we always made sure that was 24/7. That was always manned. That always had people. But to create the environment of bringing back where there's all the resources, it took us a little bit of time. But I can tell you that anyone coming to our courthouse for an order of protection or advocate calling us, we were making sure, and we even did the extended hours to make sure that we had almost like 24/7. We had a judge on call. We had our staff had the work schedule where they were in the late hours and in the early morning, being being by that phone to make sure that if an order of protection was going through, that my clerk was putting into a service, that make sure that that the sheriffs were getting it, so they could order, they could put out the order of protection, put out the warrant, and then we also had to make sure that that we were taking care of that the judge and everything were signing off on all this. So we really had to really work almost without no guidance, because we really did not have, other than this, we have to make sure this works. We have to make sure that the victims are always going to be able to get access to us, but at the same time is making sure that our office had a safe environment to bring everybody back. And then because even the judges were not coming, the judges were doing everything from home.
Right.
So our clerks were in the office working in remote areas to have Zoom calls, so we can at least get the courts going. And that was something. It was
very challenging.
It was very challenging, but we made it happen. You did not hear of anything major falling through the cracks. I don't think there's any victim that never felt that we were not there for them. We've never, so I think, we did the best that we can with what we had in front of us. And I think, kudos to my girls who work over in domestic violence that were there. We're making sure we were, we needed to keep that operation going, because domestic violence doesn't have a time of day, doesn't have a day of the week. It happens anywhere 24/7. And so we wanted to make sure that we had extended hours, that we had overnight, because we know that domestic violence was high, our numbers were just climbing, and the only thing we can do is provide that service, but at the same time is bring everybody back and continue to to staff in office like the domestic violence office, because we knew the nature of this, of what they do.
Okay. All right. Also, I have on my list, it says creating a new state of the art call center. Tell us about that.
The call center was a very important part of our, where we are today. We walked into a building, into courthouses, and we heard, we had all these telephone numbers. We had all these numbers all over, no equipment at the end of those lines.
Wow.
So again, complaints, unanswered calls. Yes. Why? Because there was. So we said, we gotta do better than this. So we centralized. We took all the courthouses, telephone numbers, and everything. Got rid of them per se. I mean, they still have numbers, but that services all directed. Created a call center with about 30 to 35 employees. This call center is a state of the art. I mean, we have a board that tells you all of our clerks are on the calls. People are waiting in the queue. They're only waiting up to 2 minutes to get a person.
Beautiful.
And I can tell you that We started as a pilot program in December of 2022. Today, I can tell you that as of last week, 316,000 people have called our office that we have service
Wow.
over the phone. And guess what? We also made available them in 200 languages. So anybody calling in
200 languages, wow.
in their native language, we had an interpreter,
Wow.
we had the service, we had the clerk, and then we had.
Who idea was that, Madam Clerk? That's beautiful. Somebody, you listen, that's great. Different
But you know
languages.
what, I again, and I always say that I'm very proud of my call center.
Right.
It was just all drop calls. No, my center does not have drop calls because they're all landlines.
Right.
So don't say that out there that we're having a lot of drop calls. Yes, people calling in are the ones that are calling in on a cell service. But one thing is that we have the option, they can wait, we'll call them back, but we have a real true call center. And like I said, when you hear that over 316,000 people have been serviced, then now those same people didn't have to come to court. They didn't have to come to one of the courthouses because they were able to have their business taken care of over the phone. I'm very proud of that. I'm
That's
very
very
proud of that
convenient.
call center.
Very convenient. Let me go down the line. Said,
And our expungement center.
oh yeah, that's what
There you go.
now that's what, listen,
Let's talk about the expungement
listen.
center.
Now, my audience is predominantly Black. I have all races, but that is what they're concerned about, especially from my community, the Black community. We have a lot of things we need to expunge.
We saw that,
okay.
when one thing that I established when we got there was let's take the clerk's office out into the communities. We did a program, the clerks in the community. We've gone to everywhere in Cook County and have met them. I have had our chiefs, assistant chiefs, and clerks come out with their laptops, ready to look information up. Somebody might have an outstanding warrant that maybe didn't even know that they had a warrant out. We started seeing, what we did see was a lot of people looking for expungement information, a lot of it. And we saw it because we had summits, working with Father Flager, Reverend Calloway,
even teamwork with Juneteenth, because I was here. Right.
Working with them, we knew that the service was such a need out there. So I said, you know what? These summits only happen every so often. We've got to make this an everyday thing. So today, last week, 2 weeks ago, we opened up an expungement center that will be there every single day, 8:30 to 4:30, to make sure anybody looking to file, we don't have to wait until we have a summit to come up with applications. They can come and start the process there already.
Wow.
All right, y'all hear it.
And we have our partnership with the CGLA, with the Green Legal. They have been partners. They have been wonderful with us as far as helping us, get these applications ready for them to be processed. Because they have to go to the state police, they got to go through the state attorney's office to make sure there's no objections, and then right to the judge. And and I gotta say, when I walked into that office, we found over 5,600 applications sitting there that were never processed.
I have a question to you.
That was already done. So we already processed all those
Oh, you're doing a great
5,000
job.
signatures there.
Marvelous. Now, I remember when you guys came here for Juneteenth that you wasn't calling the police on nobody, even though you're looking at records if they had a warrant on it. So, right. So they're not calling the police on if you have a warrant. They're just letting you know you have a warrant.
Right. Let's help you start the process.
Right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes the people, remember, when I also, and I say this because it was the truth, we found over 11,000 outstanding nonviolent warrants in the system that never have been caution recall, which means that they've been sitting there. Anyone could have been picked up easily on the street without even knowing that maybe it's been a warrant from 10 years ago. So we cleared up that backlog also to make sure, again, the backlog that we've had to do in that office to get that office, to where we need to be has happened. And you know what? That's why now, again, we continue the expungement center was important because we saw the backlog, and now everything that's coming in are all fresh applications that are coming in, and we're starting that process with them, working with CGLA, so people really have much more of an opportunity for housing, for scholarships, for skills. And people don't realize that you need to clear your record if you're also trying to get into a trade. It's important, trade jobs are very important for us.
That's
very
right.
important. So we want to make sure that you have the resources that are available to start that process, because it could be a misdemeanor. It could be, a felony that maybe occurred 20, 30 years ago. We saw people coming back to me today saying, I gotta get my thing expunged because I applied for a security job. And even though, guess what? It happened to him 30 years ago, but it
Wow.
was still in the system. So again, we wanted, that's what one thing we were very, we wanted to push that out and have these summits so people can see what's expungible, what's not expungible, what's sealable, what's not sealable, so people don't waste their time, especially if there's something there that will not be expunged. There are certain things that will never be expunged, but we can seal. You know what I mean? And again, there's a lot, but you won't know unless you come to us and give us your information so we can look it up without the fear of being arrested right at the spot. We want to just make sure that we equip you with what's needed for you to, start whatever process you need to clear up your record, or, especially if you're going into a new job, you're trying to get an apartment, they do the background checks.
Yes.
Background checks are getting a lot of
Yes.
our people of color of getting good housing, getting a skill, education, whatever, scholarships, whatever it's needed out there. So, that's something that I am very proud of. The Expungement Center was something that now is going to be there long after I'm gone. There's going to be an area where people can just come in on a daily basis whenever they want and start the process without having to wait for a summit to occur, in one of the communities.
Madam Clerk, I want to say you're doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job. I
I
mean,
love my job.
the proof is in the pudding. You got a great staff. Is in. I mean, for the things that you just spoke about, that shows me that you care for the community. And I want to congratulate, coming from the Crimechaser. I'm not a political person, but I want to say that. I appreciate you
really
guys.
appreciate that. I
Right.
think, when I've been around for 40 years, I would say my years of 40 years that I've been in public service it's come from my heart.
Mhm.
I love working for people. I love working, and trying to find, resolve on any, I don't think there's anything that we cannot help resolve or help get you on the right path, especially when it comes to judiciary. This is a very important part of our lives that we hope never to be part of for whatever the reason may be. But guess what? It's an everyday thing, and things do happen. And sometimes things happen, when you're young, that you're now, you look back and go, what was I thinking when I did something, crazy
Right.
like that? But again, there's no reason why you should not be able to have a second chance in getting that
I
done.
agree.
And I believe in second chances and even third chances. I'm always about that. If people are willing to change and want to change their life, then we're going to be there to give you what you need to help you in that
I
process.
agree.
So.
Well, that ends our program. You want to say something,
I
partner?
have nothing. We've said enough. We said everything.
Assistant?
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you. No problem. We want to thank Teamwork Englewood for calling us on to do this. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. This is I want to say to my audience, make sure you like and share this video. And it's very resourceful. I put up the domestic hotline number on the screen. So I want to thank you. Madam Clerk was here herself and a deputy. So she came here, so she's concerned. Yeah, right. And y'all know this live, uncut, unedited. This is where we tell the truth and shame the devil. We did it.
We did it.
Today. So thank you guys. This is my introduction going
You
off
already know what it is.
live, uncut and unedited.
Tell the truth.
And what?
And shame the devil.
And what?
I love being black.
Thank you guys so much. Share the video.